My mother didn't even blink when she said it across the dinner table. "You're not half the woman your sister is." The words hit so hard the room actually tilted. I pushed my chair back, feeling every year I'd kept quiet tighten in my chest, and said, "Then she can start paying your rent." Forks froze. My father went pale. "Rent? What rent?" He whispered it like the truth might swallow him whole. But that moment, the shock, the silence, the fear in his eyes was nothing compared to what came after, because the real secret hadn't even surfaced yet. My name is Claire Bennett, and for most of my life, I've been the quiet one in a family that never stops talking about my sister. People often assume I'm shy. That isn't quite true. I just learned early that in my parents' house, silence keeps the peace. And peace, no matter how fragile, was something I tried to protect. On paper, my life looks steady. I'm a financial manager at a logistics company near the Cincinnati riverfront. I work with numbers, deadlines, and systems that make sense. There's a calmness in spreadsheets that real life has never offered me. My days follow predictable rhythms: the echo of forklifts at the docks, the hum of the office, the soft click of my keyboard. I go home to a small apartment with warm lamps and a view of the river. Some nights I cook pasta, tie my hair up, and take comfort in small, orderly things. But the steadiness ends every Friday. That's when I drive to my parents' two-story house in the suburbs, a place wrapped in manicured hedges and the illusion of a perfect family. Inside, perfection cracks fast. The moment I step through the door, I feel 16 again. The second daughter. The supporting role in Madison's highlight reel. My sister has always been the star. Tall, confident, the kind of person who fills a room and expects it to stay filled. She debated her way to trophies in high school, earned a law scholarship, and walked into a career everyone applauded before she even proved herself. And I, quiet, steady Claire, watched her take the spotlight like it was her birthright. My parents adore her. They always have. At every family gathering, every holiday, every dinner, they lift her accomplishments like offerings. New cases she won, promotions she landed, the house she bought, her plans, her vacations, her potential. And then there's me, Claire, who paid her own tuition at 17. Claire, who worked 2 jobs in college. Claire, who never asked for help. I learned not to. It wasn't that my parents disliked me. They just preferred the louder story. Still, I kept showing up every Friday because they insisted. My dad always said, "This family has a seat for you. Don't leave it empty." Half joking, half serious. My mom called if I was even 5 minutes late. "Family first," she'd remind me, though it often felt like Madison first was closer to the truth. The dinners were predictable. My mother plated the same roast chicken. My father asked the same questions. Madison shared the same wins, and I pushed food around my plate, pretending the quiet I carried didn't weigh something fierce. But the Friday before everything imploded felt different. And I should have known. It's always the quiet before the storm you should fear most. My mother kept giving me sharp, assessing glances. Madison was in an unusually triumphant mood, like she knew something I didn't. Even my father's smile looked stretched too thin. I sensed it then, a storm building beneath the polite clatter of dishes. I just didn't know it would hit me first. Every sacrifice you make in silence teaches people you don't need credit. They believe you. That Friday dinner began like all the others. I set the table, lined up the silverware, pretended not to notice the tension pooling under every breath. When we sat down, the conversation turned to Madison. It always did. "She's presenting at a conference next week," my mom said proudly. They asked her specifically, "Isn't that something?" "She's always been exceptional," my dad added, giving her a smile that belonged in a campaign poster. Madison shrugged with practiced modesty. "Well, they know talent when they see it." I chewed slowly, swallowing a mix of chicken and resentment. I'd spent the entire day fixing a financial disaster left by someone else, a mess that would have cost the company 6 figures if I hadn't caught it. But that never made it to the dinner table. My achievements lived quietly in the corners of my parents' house, tucked between bills and forgotten grocery lists. I tried anyway. I led a major project at work this week. My director actually said. My mother waved her hand gently, like she was brushing away smoke. You're doing fine, Claire, but Madison's work impacts hundreds of people. It's different. That sting, small, sharp, intentional, landed exactly where she wanted it to. I looked down at my plate, reminding myself to breathe. Just another Friday, I told myself. Another night of swallowing what I wished I could say. But then my father leaned back with a dramatic sigh. Speaking of homes, he began, Madison helped us sort through some mortgage paperwork last month. She's been such a blessing. A chill crawled up my spine. Madison's grin widened. It wasn't a big deal. My fork froze halfway to my mouth. 3 years of payments pulsed behind my ribs. 3 years. And they were about to rewrite every single one of them. The quiet monthly transfers. The vacations I didn't take. The graduate classes I deferred. The down payment I watched slip away month after month. All of it funneled into a home that was now being credited to someone who signed one set of paperwork. Just this once, my mother had said 3 years ago, her voice thin and tired. We're a little behind. Don't tell anyone. We don't want people to worry. I have it, I'd said, because I always had it. Just this once became every month. Every month became 3 years. And not once, not a single Friday, had either of them mentioned it at this table. A warmth started building in my chest. Slow at first, then rising like a tide I could no longer hold back. My mother must have sensed it, because she gave me that look, the patronizing tilt of her head that always meant I should stay quiet, that I should be grateful for my seat at this table and not cause a scene. Then she said the sentence that split something open inside me. You're not half the woman your sister is. The room didn't just go silent. It snapped. I felt myself sit up straighter. I felt the scrape of chair legs on the hardwood floor. I felt every unspoken word I had ever swallowed gather at the back of my throat like a storm clawing to break free. And for the first time in my life at that table, I didn't push it down. I let it rise. Then she can start paying your rent. Silence slammed into the room. My father blinked. Rent? What rent? His voice cracked, almost pleading. I didn't flinch. The mortgage, every month for 3 years. 3 pairs of eyes widened at once. Shock, denial, and something close to fear flickering across their faces. I felt a strange lightness, like I had finally put down a weight that no one else even knew I'd been carrying. My mother recovered first. Claire, don't be dramatic. We never asked you to. You did, I cut in, my voice steady. Every month, just this once. We'll handle next month. Don't let the bank send a notice. I have the payments. I have the records. I have everything. My father's face drained of color. You shouldn't bring that up here. It's not appropriate. There it was, the dismissal, the attempt to shove the truth back into the shadows where they preferred me to live. I stood fully, hands on the back of my chair. What's inappropriate is crediting Madison for saving a home I paid to keep standing. Madison's voice came out thin. Claire, maybe you misheard. Maybe Mom didn't mean. But I wasn't listening anymore. I watched them scramble to reshape the story into something comfortable. And for the first time, I didn't shrink to fit their version. Without another word, I walked out of the dining room, grabbed my coat, and stepped outside into the cold Cincinnati air. My breath shook, but not from regret. It was the shock of finally hearing myself speak after years of sitting silent. Healing isn't always quiet. Sometimes it looks like finally choosing yourself. That night, back in my apartment, I opened my laptop, scrolled to the automatic monthly payment, and canceled it. A small confirmation box appeared. Are you sure? Yes, I was very sure. The first 15th of the month where my bank account didn't drain felt strange, almost suspicious, like waiting for a blow that never came. I kept checking my balance, half expecting the money to disappear on its own out of habit. The silence from my parents was loud enough to rattle walls. I started running along the river in the mornings. At first, just to quiet the shaking in my hands. But soon the rhythm of my feet on the pavement became something like freedom. I joined a Thursday cooking class at the community center and learned how to make homemade pasta from a retired Southern chef named Ray, who laughed too loudly and corrected everyone's technique without apology. I let some friends drag me on weekend hikes around Red River Gorge, where the air felt cleaner, like it hadn't been breathed through expectations yet. With distance, I saw everything more clearly. Every just this month, every don't tell anyone, every Friday dinner where they praised Madison while I transferred money in silence. I had believed I was being a good daughter. Looking back, I was being erased. And then the photo arrived, and the story I thought was finally behind me turned out to be far from over. It came on a Sunday morning from Mrs. Calloway, my parents' elderly neighbor, a woman with sharp eyes and a sharper memory. She texted me a single image with no caption. A banner stretched across the front porch of my childhood home. "Congratulations, Madison, for preserving the family home." My entire body went still. I stared at it for a long time. The bold letters, my sister's name, the house I had quietly kept from foreclosure for 36 consecutive months. Every late-night transfer. Every time I had eaten rice and canned soup so the 15th wouldn't come up short. All of it rewritten like I had never been there at all. I didn't cry. I felt something else, something sharper, steadier. I walked to my dining table, pulled out the folder where I kept every payment confirmation and bank statement I had printed over 3 years, and began organizing them. Date by date, month by month. Laid flat on the table, they looked less like financial records and more like a quiet autobiography of sacrifice. That's when Amy called. "Claire," her voice was low, cautious. "I think you should know. Your parents are planning a family appreciation dinner next month in Nashville. They asked me to put together the slideshow." I braced myself. "Let me guess, it's about Madison." "It's worse than that." I could hear the discomfort in her breathing. "They want to highlight her as the reason the house was saved. They gave me captions already. They're calling her the anchor of the family." Anchor, savior, hero, all words I had earned in silence and never once received. "Send me the file," I said. A pause. "Are you sure?" "Very." When the slideshow arrived, I opened it and felt a hollow, soundless laugh escape me. Photos of Madison standing proudly in front of the house. My parents hugging her on the porch. Captions like, "Thank you, Madison, for keeping our family home safe." I created a copy of the file. After their final slide, I inserted what they had erased. A clean timeline of every payment month by month, year by year. Bar charts showing the total amount. Screenshots of messages from my mother, blurred for privacy but clear in meaning. "Just this once. Don't let the bank send a notice. You're the only one I can ask." And the last slide, a photo of the house, plain and quiet, with the words, "The truth deserves a place, too." I saved the file to my laptop, to the cloud, and onto a USB drive I tucked into the inside pocket of my bag like a second heartbeat. Then I waited. The truth doesn't need a weapon. It only needs a room. The night before the dinner, I sat at my new oak table with a cup of tea going cold in my hands. The USB drive sat in front of me, small, weightless. Everything I had documented was on it, 3 years condensed into a few gigabytes of undeniable fact. I had rehearsed nothing. I had no speech prepared. I only knew one thing with absolute clarity. I was not going to that dinner to perform. I was going to be seen. Whether I used the drive or not, I would walk into that room as the person who had actually been there. I picked it up and slipped it into my jacket pocket. The restaurant in downtown Nashville glowed with soft amber light. Through the glass, I could already see familiar silhouettes. My parents, Madison in an emerald dress. Relatives I hadn't seen in years, dressed like they were attending a ceremony. In a way, they were. I waited by the doorway, unseen, as my father took the microphone. "We are here tonight," he began, his voice swelling with pride, To honor our daughter Madison, the one who stepped up when it mattered most, who helped us keep the home that has been in our family for decades. Applause, cameras flashing, smiles lifting around the room like they'd been waiting all evening for permission. The slideshow started. Madison on the porch, Madison holding papers, Madison smiling next to my mother. Caption after caption painting a story that wasn't true. Then the screen flickered, because someone had swapped the file, and the room was about to learn something none of them expected. A bar chart appeared, clean, precise, undeniable. Then another. Then the dates. Then the payment amounts lined up month by month, year by year, across 3 years of my life that this family had decided weren't worth mentioning. The room went silent in stages. First one table, then another, then the whole room like a current cutting out. My parents froze. Madison's mouth fell open. I stepped forward into the light. "If the truth makes anyone uncomfortable tonight," I said, my voice calm and even, "that's not my problem." Every head in the room turned. My father looked at me like I was a ghost he hadn't prepared for. My mother's face crumpled, not in shame, but in the specific fear of a person being seen doing something they believed would stay hidden. I walked toward the screen. "For 3 years, I paid the mortgage. Not 1 month. Every month. Quietly. Consistently. While you," I looked at my parents directly, "rewrote the story to make it easier for everyone to applaud." My father stepped forward. "Claire, take this outside. This isn't—" "Why?" I asked. "You wanted everyone here to know what Madison did. Why shouldn't they know what I did?" Whispers spread like a tide through the room. I heard fragments. I always knew something was off. She was always working late. 3 years she paid all of that. Madison stood trembling, her carefully rehearsed composure coming apart at the seams. "I didn't ask them to do this. I thought you thought nothing," I said, not cruelly, just plainly. "You enjoyed being the hero in a story that was never yours." My mother found her voice. "Claire, we never wanted to embarrass you." I laughed, softly, briefly. "Embarrass me by telling the truth?" I had no desire to attack them further. The point wasn't to wound. It was to exist, fully and undeniably, in a room that had spent years making space for everyone except me. "For the record," I said, turning to face the whole room, "I don't want the house. I don't want a caption. I just won't let you erase me." The room stayed quiet long after I stepped back from the screen. My father reached out a hand. "Claire, wait." I didn't wait. I turned, walked through the tables, and pushed through the front door into the cool Nashville night. Outside, I stood on the steps and breathed deep, slow, the kind of breath you take when you've been underwater for a very long time. This wasn't revenge, it was release. Once you step into your own light, you don't go back. 2 days after the dinner, I was watering a small plant on my balcony when someone knocked. Through the peephole, I saw my parents standing close together, looking smaller than I had ever seen them. My mother's eyes were swollen. My father's shoulders carried the tension of a man who had spent 48 hours reckoning with something he couldn't undo. The cool Nashville air had carved new lines into both of them. I opened the door without a word. They stepped inside slowly, scanning my apartment like they were entering a life they'd never imagined for me. Sunlight spilled across the floor-to-ceiling windows, catching the edges of my bookshelf. The new dining table, the quiet I had built entirely on my own terms. My mother spoke first. "Claire!" Her voice cracked on just my name. "We're sorry. We were wrong. We shouldn't have let the story become something it wasn't. We shouldn't have asked you to carry so much alone." My father nodded, and I could see the effort it cost him. "We talked. We want your name on the house." "You earned it." I let the words settle. Not with bitterness, and not with the desperate relief I might have felt a year ago, when I would have taken an apology and quietly forgiven everything just to have peace. "I don't need it," I said. "I have a home now, my own. What I needed wasn't a deed, it was respect. Honesty, to not be erased from my own life." They fell silent. My mother's hands trembled. My father looked at the floor like the truth had finally dragged him somewhere unfamiliar, and he wasn't sure he could find his way back. "I'm not angry anymore," I said quietly, "but I'm done disappearing. If we rebuild anything between us, it has to start from that. No more pretending. No more silence that protects the wrong people." Something in the room shifted. Not forgiveness, not yet, but something like an opening. A place where we could breathe without old stories crushing us. When they left, I stood at the balcony door for a long time, watching the Nashville skyline blink against the afternoon sky. I thought about all the Fridays I had driven to that house. All the dinners where I had swallowed words that deserved to be spoken. All the months I had transferred money and told myself it was love, that it was the right thing, that someday it would be acknowledged. Here is what I know now. Silence doesn't protect you. It erases you. Keeping the peace had cost me 3 years of savings, a graduate degree I never started, and every Friday evening I spent feeling like a guest in my own family. I had called that devotion. It was disappearance. Choosing myself didn't break my family. It finally broke the story that had been keeping me small. And maybe that is the real beginning, not the moment you stand up in a room full of relatives and let the truth speak, but the quiet Tuesday morning after, when you water your plant on your own balcony and realize the future belongs entirely to you. If this story reached something inside you, if you've ever carried a burden in silence, or watched someone else take credit for your sacrifices, or spent years making yourself smaller to keep someone else comfortable, tell me in the comments. I read every single one. And if you want to be here when the next story comes, the one about rebuilding on your own terms, subscribe. More stories are coming. Stories about finding your voice, standing your ground, and rewriting what family really means.